What's up, guys? Welcome back to Whiskey Dixon. I'm Sugarbear.
Troy.
And we are drinking Smoke Wagon straight bourbon whiskey today. The Smoke Wagon comes from the great state of Nevada. This is a Las Vegas bourbon. It is aged and bottled by Nevada H&C Distilling Company. And it comes in at 46.25% or 92.5 proof.
Big boy.
It's a solid proof. That's respectable. Now, it says aged and bottled by H&C, but it does not say...
Thank you.
Whoops.
46.
Doesn't say distilled by, and then in very fine print on the back, it says distilled in Indiana. So what do we have to assume at that point?
Who makes most of their whiskey in Indiana?
Who makes most of the Indiana whiskeys?
That's the question.
MGP. Comes from Midwest Grain Products. I think I've touched up on this in previous episodes, but basically MGP is a contract distillery. If you are a fledgling distillery, you contact them, you let them know the exact specifications of the mash bill that you want for your whiskey. They will distill it for you, and then you can either age it yourself or they'll age it for a bit for you. Many, many new distilleries in America are doing this. They go through these guys because...
Number one.
I guess they're cheap, and just their production level is enormous, so, like, it makes sense. And to be honest, to be fair, I have not had, like, a bad MGP whiskey. They're actually all really good. I mean, you're talking High West, you're talking Bullet Rye, you're talking, these guys, also pretty good. I'm struggling to I know there's others. But anyway, let's dig into this. Oh, on the nose, the most classic good sweet bourbon. Not an oaky bourbon, not a spicy bourbon. Very sweet bourbon. So my guess would be this is a very high corn mash bill.
Kind of like candy corn.
Candy corn. More candy corn.
It's mostly,
No, there's a lot of cinnamon. There's a lot of vanilla oak. On the palate, to me, the most surprising thing about this was the first sip I took, which so smooth, so crazily smooth for 46.25%. This tastes like it's like 35%.
Yeah.
Not like it's watered down. It's not thin or lacking in flavor notes.
And it doesn't sting. Yeah.
Not
it's
at
not
all.
syrupy and it doesn't...
Well, I'm used to that bourbon punch.
Yeah.
I don't get that from this. This is a very nice, refined, smooth bourbon.
Yeah. What's the price point on this one?
Comes out like $35 bucks. To me, that's right on the money. This is actually a step up from your average budget bourbon. So that's the perfect sort of price point for it.
Especially for like a 46er, goes down that easily.
Oh, it goes down so smooth.
Wow.
And I hate to just overly use the word smoothness because I know that's the first term that anyone who drinks whiskey kind of learns is they go, oh, that's smooth, so that makes it good. But with bourbon, to me, bourbons tend to be a bit harsher. I'm more of a Scotch or Irish drinker, and so this is as smooth as any. This is like Scotch or Irish smooth.
Like this is easier to drink than Jack Daniels, but that's not really that's not a bourbon. That's not really a bourbon either. It's easier to drink than Evan Williams.
God, that's good. Oh well, of course it's easier. It's twice the price, but so it's a bit higher proof, and it's shockingly smooth for the proof. Flavor wise, very classic bourbon mash bill. It's mostly corn sweetness, a lot of caramel, vanilla, cinnamon. Tiny hint of rye spice comes through on the finish, but it really doesn't last at all. It's just there for like a half second.
Little whisper.
Slightly floral. I would even say there's a maybe rose note to it. There's a dusty note to this as well. You do kind of smell and taste the desert a little bit, which I really like. I'm all about character. And what's interesting here is this whiskey is distilled in Indiana, but it's aged like 100%. It's aged in Las Vegas. And so Las Vegas gets really hot. They have really crazy temperature swings. That's going to give you a much higher angel share. You're going to lose a lot more whiskey. But the whiskey that's left in the barrels is going to mature a lot faster and develop a ton of flavor and really just mellow out and be smooth and easy to drink. And that's exactly what we have here. It's a relatively new distillery as far as I know. I didn't really start seeing this until maybe like a year and a half ago. And I've noticed it's become very popular. A lot of people are buying this, and for good reason. I actually would say this is one of the smoothest, most drinkable bourbons I've ever had.
Smoky Wagon.
It's not smoky.
Not at all.
No, it's not even very oaky.
Right.
It's very grain forward, very corn forward.
Mm-hmm.
But with that little bit of rye spice and just the smoothness to me is what sets this apart. Drinkability is a huge factor here.
Right.
It's a pretty bottle too. I really like the
nice old timey style.
I'm a big fan of the Old West and that style. I like a lot of what High West is doing with their rye whiskeys. And to me, this is along those same lines, but it's a bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even be surprised if this same bourbon recipe is being used at High West for some of their stuff, because both of them are sourcing their whiskeys from MGP. Solid bourbon for the price. Yeah, $35.
Can't beat
Hard
it.
to think of anything better.
Right.
Smoother. I always say smoothness wins. I'm trying to think, is there anything maybe more complex around
35.
35 you can think of?
Ryes, but not necessarily bourbons.
We're talking
bourbons
We're talking
here.
bourbons.
Bourbons?
We're talking corn.
Not really. This is about as good as it gets.
Oh, yeah. I would have to agree. It doesn't even smell that fumier. It's just sweet.
Like I can dunk my nose in there. And it's
just
fine.
unusual. Like I said, I'm used to being really punched in the face by bourbons. This is a complete opposite. This is like a gentle hand job. So, I'm digging it.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. Anything else you want to add on to the old Smoke Wagon?
It's just really surprising with the proof that it is, the smoothness that it is, and the price point. It's all just coming together to a nice whiskey.
I think a lot of that is the fact that it's aged, I think 100% aged in Las Vegas, where you have these high heat, where bourbons kind of mature and age so much faster. And I think that's exactly what you're seeing here.
Sweet.
Although it's not very oaky. I would have expected more, if it's aging faster, I would expect a lot more oak. It's not really oaky at all. I would say it falls into the sweet category of bourbons. It's a little spicy. It's mostly sweet. It's mostly corn sweetness.
Does that, you slow cook something to get more, a better product? Does the heat, the quicker process, do you think that would take away from the oak flavor, maybe? Like
quicker aging, you mean?
Yeah.
Or, no, I would say actually that should make a whiskey more oaky when you have it in a hot environment like this, because so much of it is lost to the angel share.
Right.
That little bit, that's left in the barrel is going to age. It's going to have so much more contact with the oak. It's going to get way more oaky.
Okay.
So.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's great for the price. I hate to use the word smoothness over and over, because it's not a flavor. That's the most basic form of saying something good about a whiskey. But really, I would say the number one attribute.
Yeah, dang smooth.
Smoothness. That's mostly what this whiskey has. Not the most complex bourbon. Not a super oaky bourbon. Incredibly smooth bourbon. Drinkable.
46
Drinkability,
proof.
I'd give it a 10 out of 10. Straight up for the proof. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
God, that's just a very pleasant, classic, smooth bourbon. There's nothing crazy about this, but the price point's correct. It's incredibly smooth, incredibly drinkable. Tastes like just a very good straight bourbon.
Right.
Any other final notes here, Troy? Well, if you enjoyed this, smash that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know if there's anything else we need to review. Check us out on Instagram. And, Sugarbear.
Troy.
We are Whiskey Dixon. Until next time, cheers and keep on drinking.